for good reason. It can be nerve-wracking to get up in front of an audience, whether you are live or in front of a video. In fact, some people list public speaking as a fear greater than dying. Isn't that crazy? So in today's video, what I'm going to do is give you 5 tips to help you conquer your fear of going live so you can show up with confidence and grow your business online. Hey, I'm Joyce Lehman, and I help entrepreneurs and coaches leverage their unique brand and message to stand out online, sell more services, and make a bigger impact without the overwhelm. So if you want access to the show notes, so as you know, if you've been on any lives before, I go pretty quick. So if you want access to the show notes, then drop the word speaking and I will make sure and get those to you when we get done. So did you know 72% of clients would rather get their information via video rather than text? And they also retain 95% of information in a video versus reading it. Those are pretty crazy stats. Now, the other reason when you consider using live to grow your business is social media algorithms love video. In fact, anytime you use either short form content, could be Instagram Reels, could be a quick Facebook story, could be LinkedIn native video, then the algorithms are going to push your content out to far more people, giving you a greater reach than just a static post. Well, therein lies the dilemma. So if you're unsure as to how to add in video and have that confidence to go live so you can use it as part of your marketing strategy, then here are the 5 must-know tips. Now, I am just curious because as one who's public speaking used to be my second biggest fear. Heights was my biggest fear. Public speaking was my second biggest fear. I've been a keynote at national conferences and even spoken at TEDx. So I didn't start there. I didn't have the confidence. So if you can relate to being scared to either get up in front of a group as simply as introducing yourself at a networking event, or especially going live, then post "That's me" in the comments. All right. So first video tip is it's all in your mind. This is a big one because your mind can be your greatest asset. It can also be one of your biggest stumbling blocks. And so if you're faced with going live and it's something that's completely outside your comfort zone, then one of the key things to do is start with why. Why is it that you want to do this? Why is it that you want to go live? Is it that you've got a business coach telling you that you need to do this? Or is there something that you know you have an amazing message to share and you want to get it out to the world and you feel that you can do it? So your why is strong enough. You just need the tips and the confidence to make that happen. So that's the first thing, is consider your why. I totally get that because when I first started speaking, I was actually introducing speakers. That's the thing that got me kind of out there so I could see how crazy afraid I was to even do this. And I would physically shake if you put a microphone in my hand. That's if I had a script to introduce a speaker. It still made me crazy scared. However, it also gave me that strong why that I saw how these speakers connected with their audiences. This was amazing. And it's also like 20 years ago, but I knew that I wanted to be able to do that. So that was that why. And when you have that internal motivation, then that's one of the first things that can help you get out of your head and give you more confidence to be a speaker. So getting clear on your why, but also know that when you do this, that think about, it's really simple to do. Think about having a conversation with somebody. My speaking coach, Darren LaCroix, who actually won the Toastmasters International Speech Competition, I remember very distinctly that he said, keynotes, these are not a monologue, it is a dialogue. So even though I'm here and you're there, same thing, right? You're talking to your audience and you might be doing a short form reel, or you're actually doing a workshop or a webinar, could be Zoom, whatever that is, then think about this in a way of you're having a dialogue with the audience. This is why you want to make sure that you are pausing, that you're paying attention to comments and all of the above. But there are simple little things that you can do to make it that versus it's very, it's very just go down and go down the list. So, but act like you're talking to one person. I had a friend of mine that I just worked with. She was doing a breakout session at a conference, and she's good at speaking, but she's not great. So what we had her do was practice just a different way to introduce herself. And Brenda is such a natural networker. So if that's something that you have that confidence to carry on conversations, then just go for it. And also keep in mind that when we get into how the prep piece, you're not going to immediately click live and go. There is prep that goes into that, but know that if you have a fear when it comes to speaking, it is in your mind. And if you recognize what it is, then you can solve that. So, all right. Tip number two, connect with your audience. So when you do this, the very first thing that I want you to think about are the 4 P's. So this is pace, pitch, pause, and power. Those are the 4 P's. So the pace is either how quickly you're going to talk or it's how slowly you're going to talk. If you want to make a strong point, slow down just for a minute, and you can do that to get somebody's attention, even though you're going live. All right, pitch is either going to be how high your voice is, how much you're going to talk up here, or if you need to drop down and you need it to be just a little lower. So that's going to be pitch. So depending on, you've probably heard somebody talking in a monotone. This is what's going to take practice because you don't want to have a monotone. It's that natural speaking voice. And there are some words that you may be aware that you need to emphasize a little bit to get people's attention. And then pause. This is really important, especially if you're nervous, is we tend to talk 100 words per minute. And when somebody is nervous, they're going to speed up. So if you pause for a minute, and sometimes even when I'm live, I just pause and I take a drink of water. So don't let pausing get in your way or get in your head of going live. Now, if it's a 15-second reel, short form video content, then that's a little different as far as being prepared than something like this, or say maybe you're leading a workshop. You know it's okay to pause. And then sometimes, especially because I said, you can use these tips if you're in front of an audience, or if you are just, doing a live, you're on a reel and it's just you. If somebody laughs or if there's feedback, that pause, the insight that my speaking coach gave me is you don't step on the laugh. Comedians know this. And sometimes when you pause, it also gives people an opportunity to take in the information, especially if it's a strong point, because you want that information to stick. And then finally, power. It's how loud you talk or how softly you talk. So it's slightly different than pitch, which is up and down. Power is either going to be very loud or you're going to soften your voice. So depending on what's going on in the background, there are sometimes I do reels that I'm outside. In fact, I've done reels when I am at the racetrack tracking my car. Of course, there's engine sounds in the background. So when you're aware of what's going on in the background, if you're not in a controlled space, like, I am here sitting in the living room, then this is an opportunity for you to work on that. So your 4 P's, which are pace, pitch, pause, and power. All right. Then another thing too, is there is a fun fact that studies show that when you use your 4 P's, that it actually helps to create a more authentic connection with your audience. So other ways that you can connect, and this depends on, like I said, if you're in a video, if you're doing a live and all you do is you sit here very still, you might want to think about using your hands. Now, you don't want to stick your hands out here outside the frame because that's going to be distracting. But if you talk with your hands, then that's okay. Sometimes if you notice speakers, they're really frantic. There is a late night talk show host, bugs me to no end. And he talks and he claps and he talks and he makes a clap and he's clapping over he's talking. So if you get nervous and you use your hands, then make sure, like I said, that you're not all over the place. So you're not outside the frame, but you're here and use them naturally. Or if you're holding a note card, then maybe you hold one and then you can talk with the other hand. So hands are great. The other thing is if you need to sit up taller, so think about how you're showing up within the frame. So since this is on my laptop, it's a little wider. If I'm doing an Instagram reel or a story, then it's going to be up and down vertical. So part of it is think about how you're fitting in the frame, which makes sense. And then also, as I said, move your body. If I'm sitting here and you see me rocking back and forth, it's going to be very distracting. That's why using my hands. However, going back to short form content, if you're going to use this, some of the most powerful reels that I have seen, people are walking. They're walking and they're talking, which is great because, of course, there's that caption feature that you can do that. So the movement reels tend to work. So in that case, walking is fine. If you're sitting, like I said, just make sure of the frame, your hands, and then use your 4 Ps in the process. So the other thing to remember too is your personality is what endears you to the audience. Now, if you're, as I said, if you're going live, this is a new audience, you're going to end up getting in front of people that you don't know. They're not going to be your target, they may or may not be your target audience. It's very different. Like in my private Facebook group, those are the folks, they know me, they join the group, I post content all the time. So they have an idea of who I am. If you're going live for the very first time and you're out there, then use your personality. This is what makes your unique message and your unique brand stand out. All right, tip number 3 is use the lipstick effect to your advantage. So if you're not familiar with this, Harvard did a study and it showed that getting ready, just the act of doing your hair, putting on your makeup, not only did it boost your confidence and self-esteem, but it made a positive impact on your cognitive abilities. I heard a quote one time that, your brain stops working as soon as you start speaking in front of an audience. No, as I said, it's going to take a little bit of practice, but the lipstick effect. So depending on, for me, I don't put on makeup every day and I don't do my hair every day. I have set meetings during the week. I have my coaching clients that I work with. I have other Zoom meetings. I actually do have an occasional network meeting out, but there are days when I'm in the office and I am, hair pulled back and I'm in workout clothes. So what I have discovered is on the days that I actually go live or I need to be in front of somebody, those are the days that I go ahead and I do some reels and I have videos on my phone, might change clothes a time or two or put my hair a different way. But I use those opportunities because if you just thought, well, great, if you love doing hair and makeup, that's fantastic. But if it's something where you don't want to mess with it, then think about the days that you can actually batch your content. But when it comes to being confident, for the first few times, in fact, anytime, put on clothes that make you feel good. Men or women, doesn't matter. Put on something that makes you feel comfortable, that also suits your brand. As an example, if you're a yoga instructor, you're a personal trainer, you're a wellness coach, then you're not going to have a more corporate look. So you got to think about the audience that you're looking at attracting. If it's something where, like when I've done my 5-part workshop series, my Brands That Sell Bootcamp series over a series of 5 days, day 1, I tend to be, I don't want to say formal, but I tend to be the most dressed up. And by day 5, I tend to be a little bit more casual, but that's only the fact of we've spent 5 days, so people have gotten to know me. So think about how you want to put your best foot forward when it comes to being on camera, but using that lipstick effect with the things that you feel confident in, that is so important. And, another example was 2 weeks ago, I ended up scratching a blood vessel in my eye, and literally my left eye was completely red. So I couldn't go live for a couple of weeks because I knew if I did, everybody would be staring at my eye and they wouldn't be paying attention to the information that I was trying to give. So as I said, batch your lives, also do lives in a space that you're comfortable in, that wear what you're comfortable, do your hair a certain way. It's like that lipstick effect is going to help give you additional confidence. Okay, tip number 4 Stage time, stage time, stage time. Of course, the more often you go live, the more often you get up and speak in front of an audience, the easier it's going to be. When you get started, this is why prep is so important. Winging it never works well. And then if something doesn't go right, then of course that's in your brain. You're going to go, this is why I don't like speaking. Things don't go well. Technology, is crap. So first off, write out your script. If you are brand new to this and you haven't gone live, don't wing it. What I want you to think about is, what is the one point, if people don't remember anything else in the time of your video, then what is that one point that you want to leave them with? This was a big lesson when I spoke at TEDx, and the topic was on comfort zones and just another leap. That was that last message of just another leap. Of course, throughout this video, it's a little bit longer. It's the five must-know tips to help you show up confidently on camera. So think about, if you're doing a talk, then what's that one leave with point? What do you want people to remember, if nothing else? And then what are the 2 to 5 tips, 2 to 5 points that you're going to make? And start with your outline first. Of course, you're always going to have a great intro. It's going to be short. That's going to get somebody's attention. And then you're going to have your call to action at the end. It's like, what's the action that you want them to take? So writing a script, that doesn't mean you're going to read it, but it means you're going to write it. So as an example, because I do write video scripts, but I repurpose this into show notes. I repurpose it into short form content. So I go through the process of writing out the script. However, I've got my bullet points, which are highlighted, and I also know enough about my topic that it's easy for me to talk. So when you're going live or when you're speaking, you should know enough about your topic. You don't want to talk on something you're clueless about, because then things aren't going to go well. So stay in your space, stay in your expertise, but write that out. As I said earlier, talk about 100 words per minute. Of course, you're going to speed up when you get nervous. So once you have your script, have your bullet points. If, for example, you're doing short form content and you're still nervous, take a Post-it note and stick it at the bottom of your phone, because you're going to be recording here. And then that way you can glance at your notes. In that case, you're not going to focus at the camera at the top. You're going to keep your eyes a little bit more centered so you can see that Post-it note. But if you stick to the 3 points or the 5 points, whatever that is, then that's going to help you to stay on track. All right. Another thing is memorize. Short form content's a little different. If you're doing, a reel, for example, you can either create 5 different videos and you only have to know 1 sentence. If you're going live like this, or you're doing a Zoom workshop or whatever that might be, then memorize your opening. It should only be about a minute, because you want to make sure that people are engaged. And your opening isn't, "Hi, my name is." It should be your pain, agitate solution, to get people to where they go, "Oh my goodness, that's me." And you start putting the what's in it for them at the very beginning. You introduce yourself a little ways in to your program, but not initially. So always have a great opening, your points, that you know the content that you can fill in, and then wrap up with a great call to action. So one of the things that I had to do when I was Toastmasters is what my speaking coach made me join, so I could really get into speaking quickly. He actually had me enter the Toastmasters International Speech Competition within 3 months of joining Toastmasters. And then I had 90 days to come up with 6 different talks to complete my Competent Communicator Guide so I could qualify for the competition. It was one of the best exercises ever, because it helped me really face my fear head on with speaking, and helped me get stage time. So I was constantly up in front of people talking. And so that's, it got me an end result that much quicker. I actually ended up of the top 5 out of 1,500 speakers, in our region for Missouri and Kansas. Most people aren't going to do that. At the time, it was great. By the way, there are still Toastmasters clubs that you can join. Highly, highly recommend, if speaking is going to be a big part of this. And if you want somebody to give you additional feedback, in addition to just the number of views that you're going to get on your videos. All right. And you have heard the phrase, fake it till you make it. Here's the thing. People don't know what you're going to say. They don't know if you're nervous as all get out. So part of it is think about that confidence and just use your mind to visualize what it's like when you actually deliver, what it's like when somebody makes a comment on a video and says, this was great. So fake it till you make it. Put yourself out there. Know it's going to take time, especially if you are terrified like I was and would physically shake. You can do this. It does take a little practice. So that's where, like I said, you've got to get your outline, know what your bullet points are, break it down, and then visualize yourself in the process. That was one of the biggest things that I did with the Toastmasters talks, was using visualization to help me see myself delivering a great talk. Short form content, super, super, super easy. Start there. And guess what? If you don't like it, you delete it and you start again. So that is a great way to go. All right. Tip number 5, learn how to improvise. So if you are great at thinking on your feet, that's fantastic. If you are not, here's a couple of tips in that regard. Because tech happens. It always happens. If you go live long enough, learn how to roll with the punches. I've had tech, like my computer decided to do an update in the middle of a live workshop in my Brands That Sell bootcamp. So I scrambled. I had my laptop. I went online to my phone, just grabbed my phone, put a post out in my Facebook group and said, hey, technical glitch, be right back. And then I was able to go back into my streaming platform and log back in. It seemed like it took an eternity, but everybody was actually having a great time with that. And then we just all laughed when I got back on screen. So if you completely stress out and lose it versus roll with the punches and know that tech's going to happen, then go with it. Another great thing that you can do when there is a tech mishap, I have had things, I remember a couple of times where just internet was not going to happen. In fact, I remember I did it in my kitchen before we switched from Spectrum over to Google or Google Fiber. And it went twice. I tried to go live and my internet shut down. It was one of these weekly live shows. And I swear I just gave up. What I did is instead of trying a third time, I didn't get back on live. I had an opportunity to post in my group. I had an opportunity to send an email to my list because I wasn't going to deal with tech. And actually, I'd also scheduled an appointment too close that I was supposed to be done. So I had literally run out of time and I needed to be out the door. But I used that opportunity to be able to create a post and contact my list and say, hey, here's what happened in case you missed it. So guess what? The good news was for those that didn't show up live, I had now done a, hey, you need to see this. And I actually had more people that said, I want that information. So there are good things that happen out of it. There was also a time, it was pretty funny. I was trying to do a reel. I was doing it in my car. Like I said, I always do things with different backgrounds. And I would turn my phone and then the light would hit and it would almost make my face completely white out. The first couple of times I'm like, I'm going to get this. And finally the third, I was laughing so hard. I went ahead and recorded the reel anyway. And the point was show up anyway. That wasn't going to be the topic that I was going to do that day, but that's what came as a result because of it. And it turned out well. So as I said, no matter if you're on a laptop, if you're on your cell phone, it's something where tech is going to happen. All right. So another way when you're thinking about improvising too is call out the elephant in the room. And I just now, whoops, I see I have elephants behind me. But that's something that you need to do. So say, for example, tech goes wonky. If you happen to be doing live and you've got the group and there's feedback and you see comments coming in, then that's something that based on what somebody says, then call out the elephant in the room and roll with it. The best example I have was, well, other than the dance party that happened when my computer shut down during a live and we just took off with that conversation, is I remember speaking at a farmers insurance conference and I walked in and I swear the room was set at 32 degrees. Everybody was freezing. So the very first thing after they introduced me, I stood up and I said, I didn't realize I needed to bring a parka to a summer event. And everybody cracked up. So if there's something, whether it be in chat that's going on, it happens to be, say for example, you got to take a drink of whatever it is, you need to take a drink of water, somebody happens to walk by. I had to, say for example, I usually have my laptop like this, I put it over here because it's been a very busy street out front this today. And we've had trucks going up and down, and then the landscape guys showed up. We've got an issue in the side of the house. So they showed up to help us solve that. And it's like, of course they're walking back and, in front, I should say back or in front up. See, and there we go. You just keep rolling. But they went by the doors. So I had to turn this a slightly different way. Just improvise and know it's fine. So I say I've been speaking since 2007. Of all the things, if I could tell you that have gone wacky, just you'll be great. All right. So with that, we want to do a recap. So tip number 1 is it's all in your mind. It truly is all in your mind. When you know what you are most afraid of when going live, then you can actually devise a plan and take some action steps to help you get past that. And then the other thing is know your why, because when you know your why, that's what helps to give you that internal motivation to keep going. Tip number 2 is connect with your audience. And using the 4 P's, it's pace, pitch, pause, and power is going to help you do that. Also think about your hand gestures, how you're using the frame, and also where you're looking. That's so important, because if you're down here looking at your notes instead of up at the screen, then that's not going to help the connection. So no matter what happens, if you have to glance down at your notes, that's okay, but keep looking up so you can connect with your audience. Tip number 3 is use the lipstick effect. This is where go ahead, do your hair. Ladies, do your makeup. Look at the clothes that you're going to have on. Look at the surroundings that you're in. That Harvard study that talks about increasing your level of confidence as well as cognitive abilities by just taking time to get dressed in the things that you love so you can look your best and feel most confident on camera. Tip number 4, stage time, stage time, stage time. It is going to take you time to feel comfortable. In fact, here's a secret. Even after I've been doing keynotes for years, I was still nervous before going on stage. But guess what? A speaker who was a legend in the industry said, it's better if you're nervous, because that means you're going to be on for your audience. The people who show up too confidently and cocky, that isn't always what creates the best connection. Okay. So that's what you're looking for, is that authentic connection, where stage time is going to help you get there. But know that if you're nervous, that's okay too. And then number 5, learn how to improvise. Tech's going to happen. Things are going to go wonky. If you can laugh it off, you can use that within your talk. You can use it as an excuse to reach out to your group or your audience, your email list after the fact. More power to you, because that's what you need to do. So as I said, algorithms love live video. And even if you're using these same tips and you're going live in front of an audience, not just on camera, but going live, one of the biggest secrets out there, it's funny, for people who can conquer their fear and show up, whether it's live or online, you're the ones that are going to get so much further. You're going to get your as far as your visibility is going to increase, because there are so many people that are not willing to put themselves out there. Yes, it takes practice. You can do it. And I hope that by using the 5 tips that I've shared with you today, that you can start going live more often. Now, as I said before, that if you want the show notes, then drop the word speaking in the comments and I will get those to you. So with that, I'm glad you made it, and I look forward to chatting with you next time.